this organization holds. As you can see, there are over more than 1,000 journal articles, editorials, book chapters under RTI's umbrella. I was particularly incentivized by my work being published through RTI Press, so that is something which will hopefully happen and is hopefully a work in progress. Next, please. As far as my internship experience is concerned, I've divided it up into objectives, responsibilities, and deliverables. Objectives, there were a few objectives which were laid out by our PSM program. Obviously, that was something which I had in mind, but some of them were my personal objectives as well. Those are applied skills acquired in PSM program, also to gain real-time professional experience, and also to produce important work or valuable results for my sponsoring organization. So hopefully that was something which I was able to achieve. One thing, one major objective which I did not list over here was my personal one was just to overall enjoy the professional experience at RTI. My responsibilities included literature reviews relevant to the project I was doing. Also, Robert and team were kind enough to devise a very good scheduled plan for us, these meetings with the industry professionals. So they were really informal meetings, once or sometimes twice weekly. We would just sit down with them and talk to them, ask questions to them about the projects they did. More or less, all of these professionals had in some capacity contributed in digital health area. So that was really insightful, and also it was an extremely good networking opportunity. I think our LinkedIn profile just skyrocketed during that time at RTI. Also, the University Collaboration Office at RTI devised a very well-planned workshop, a series of workshops for us, and that was something which we attended. And also that data analysis as a part of my research project, and I'll just talk to you about it shortly. In terms of deliverables, we were supposed to deliver a research manuscript and a poster for RTI intern showcase. Thanks, please. This is the timeline. As you know, that our internship plan was finalized somewhere mid-May, and internship itself began the first week of June. Within 1 month, we were all able to basically construct a manuscript and poster draft and submit it for approval. Our poster was submitted in the third week of July, or 19th July to be precise, and which gave us good 3 weeks to prepare for the RTI intern showcase, as well as to work on our final manuscript. So the end date of our internship was August 12, which was like a good solid 10 weeks of internship. Next, please. So this is basically the topic of my research project at RTI, Wearable Device Data Access, Attitudes, Barriers, and Possible Solutions. As you all know, that Robert is really, he loves wearables, he works around with wearables, and that's basically his area of expertise. So next, please. Next. So what are wearable devices? Wearable devices, any device which can be worn or measured with human skin, and which has the capability of continuously recording and monitoring human activity. It can be a smartwatch, a wristband, any kind of wearable, any kind of clothing piece, or even an implant. One important property of a wearable device is its ability to connect with the internet, and that's where this dynamic concept of Internet of Things, or IoT, comes into play. IoT refers to a network of devices where they can connect with each other through internet. They can exchange data through embedded sensors in the devices and through communication protocols. So this is basically the cornerstone of if you talk about data accessibility. Just to give you an idea about the rate of adoption, in the US, this is basically telling you the rate of adoption in the US, but overall, generally, around the world, wearable market is booming. It's going up, and as you can see from here, that in 2014 it was 25.1 million wearable device users, and in 5 years, it's more than 3 times the original. And similarly, you can see the same thing as far as the economics are concerned, from 2.2 billion US dollars. The market is $9.7 billion right now. And internationally too, it's in the future, it is the wearable devices is anticipated to reach a valuation of 52.5 billion by the end of 2024. It could be more than this. This is just a prediction. My reason for telling you and giving you all these numbers is to see the opportunity. So you can imagine these billions of users around the world who are using these wearable devices are continuously generating tons of data, and how useful and valuable could this data be? So this is being used by marketing companies, advertising agencies around the world to give benefits. So why not medical research? There are many studies which have been conducted or are in the process of being conducted utilizing this data, but historically speaking, consumers are still hesitant on sharing their data, and that formed the basis of my project, basically. So the two objectives for my project was to do a qualitative analysis on consumers' responses, that why do they don't want to share their wearable device data. And based on those responses or those reasons, I did literature reviews and came up with a set of recommendations, which I'm going to share with you. So Robert and team is doing this study. I do not have much to do with this particular study. It is ongoing ad-health consumer wearable ancillary study. And under this study, their objective is to determine rates of smartphone and consumer wearable device adoption among ad-health participants, that particular cohort. What is ad-health? I'm going to tell you shortly. And the second objective is to ask all those individuals from this cohort who are using wearables to provide their health data through their wearable devices. So ad-health is basically a national representative sample of adolescents who were in grades 7th to 12th in the year 94-95. So these individuals may be somewhere around mid-30s to early 40s right now. So they just do a series of interviews on these cohort, obtain data, and there are multiple studies which are done utilizing this data. So if you want to know more about it, there's a website. I just want to give you a little snippet about this. So as a part of this ancillary study, which Robert and team were doing, they sent out almost 12,300 questionnaires, survey questionnaires, asking this ad health cohort that how many of you actually own a wearable device. So out of these 12,000, 7.94 said that they own a wearable device. So that almost made us to 999, almost 1,000 individuals. So they were asked to provide their health data from that devices. 511, almost 50% said yes, 50% said no. So out of those 50% who said no, 289 individuals provided refusal comments. And that was the basic, that was the my material which was given to me on which I had to do qualitative analysis. So this is the research question. What are the reasons for not sharing your wearable device health data? And I was not familiar with qualitative coding, so Robert did help me. He provided me with the manual and some sources and resources. Basically, he had given me a free hand. I could choose like however I want to go about this data, which is really nice, and that had gone with me. So I just in the beginning, I did go through some methods, but I put all these consumer comments in a open source software online. It is called Textilizer. Put all the comments up there because I had to begin somewhere, and I just tried to find out 5 common themes or 5 common words, 5-lettered words. And after I found those 5 themes, I put them in a Google spreadsheet. And since I didn't have a lot of data to work with, I decided to analyze all these comments manually. And I coded in front of each comment, whatever theme I found, I coded it with the number 1. This kind of coding is called inductive coding, in which you go in blindly, not knowing what you're going to find out. So I just, after I started working with all the comments, I just kept on adding the themes as they emerged. And in the end, I put the similar themes, the related categories together and narrowed them down to six different categories. And of course, displayed the results. So this is how my final workspace looked like. You can see on the left-hand side are all the comments, and then this is not how I began. It was an iterative process for 2 weeks, and I did it multiple times with the taking different approaches just to see, just to make sure that my results in the end are accurate. And these are the results. Of course, not surprisingly, privacy issues are the number one. 55% of the individuals don't want to share their data because of the privacy issues. Lost and broken, 25%. This was a very interesting category, no reason. I want to get to that in detail with you, later. And to see them in a bar chart, and I'm going to talk to you about all these categories individually. So privacy, like I said, was the number one major issue, and it's not a secret. This statement down there is actually taken from it is the original quote from, is one of the comments from the individuals who do not want to share because of the privacy issues. So this is a true representative of their sentiments, but some of the reasons why which kept on coming was the in terms of the privacy issue was lack of transparency and accountability in data use. Individuals, consumers, they don't know where their data is being used. So that is one of the bigger issues. Also, there is no specific state or federal laws to protect this data against popular belief. HIPAA does not cover wearable device data. Risk of identity theft and stalking, and of course discrimination. A lot of the consumers, they pointed out that the data is going to be used by insurance companies to raise their premiums. So that paranoia is there. Also, the problem of data ownership. Consumers believe that their data is valuable and they own the data, and they're going to share it so much. So the second one is abandonment due to the device being broken or being lost. According to one study, 1/3 of wearable consumers, they stop using their device within 6 months of buying it. And I'm one of them. So the reasons could be initial lack of motivation to begin with, or they change their priorities, or they are not happy with the way the device performs, or they think that there's some problem with the design issue, and that just hinders their everyday activity level. So this 20% of the individuals, they said no reason. 20% out of 300 is a good number. So I really wanted to. So before I began my this research on Google, I put everything, all the comments in alphabetical order. So there's no reason came like, there were like 10, 12, 20 comments saying no reason. So I really got curious. I wanted to know, no reason is not good enough. So when I dug deeper and saw the other comments, which I put together in this category, people were really tired of answering the survey questionnaires. So I believe no reason is not the reason. The real reason is lengthy survey questionnaires and the timing when the survey is being conducted. So that's something which we have to keep in mind. So hassle, hard, difficult, inconvenience, I put all these under the category of cumbersome. There are individuals, consumers who find it hard to just, every single time they find data sharing really hard. Every single time they have to provide their login details. Some might find it hard to interpret the data, and that's the reason why they're not sharing their data. Again, uncomfortable and impractical design is again something which due to which they find this situation cumbersome to share the data. Also, there are a good number of people for who accuracy is really, really important. So if they themselves believe that data is not accurate, it is less likely that they're going to share it with other groups or researchers. So 5% were like the statements which I could not fit into any other category, and these are brand new consumers and consumers who are too embarrassed about their lifestyle, they don't want to share their data. Consumers who have multiple devices, so they just lose track of their devices, and some who don't have any incentives for sharing the data. Based on all these findings, I did, like I said, literature reviews, and I tried to come up with a set of recommendations. So I know that there were 6 themes which I talked about, but basically, at the end of the day, if you just tackle these 2 areas, you cover all the themes. So improvement in data and privacy, security, and sustained consumer engagement is the main reasons and the main hurdles why we cannot get access to this data. So how we can improve the privacy is by, of course, policy and legislation. Both government and device manufacturers have to improve their laws and policies to give an incentive to the consumers so that they share their data. Also, device design considerations, developers have to come up with better encryption standards to make the data more secure. Consumer education and awareness is of utmost important, because if consumers know where their data is going, they are more likely to share that data. Data ownership, transactions are always better if ownership is clearly defined. So there is a huge problem of data ownership. Like if you go and buy a device from any manufacturer, you assume, like a lot of consumers, they assume that the data they're going to produce is going to be their data, and that's not the case. So that is something which needs work. And also, while I was researching, I came across this very interesting study which is being conducted in Netherlands. It's a new consenting model which is called personalized consenting. So in which the consumers, they can actually control, just like Facebook privacy settings, they can control where to send their data and where not to send their data. So that is something which can be explored here in the US as well. For sustained consumer engagement, again, we have to come up with better survey questionnaires and explore and dig deeper to know the actual reasons why consumers are hesitant in sharing the data. We have to incentivize data sharing. Incentives are really, really important. Data is valuable, and there are consumers out there who are actually aware of this thing. So we have to provide proper incentives, make data more accurate, and make design more comfortable for sustained consumer engagement. So this is a poster. Thank you so much for both of you to come here. I just wanted to show you. You've seen this poster, but down there, if you remember, there was an interactive section, and I did gather some data. That was just, that was just a way to, engage audience that day. But that actually, and then I thought to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and why not to generate some data from completely different cohorts. So I did come up with some results. Again, not surprisingly, 50% of the individuals, almost 12 out of 23 respondents, they said yes, they will share the data. But of course, they were all scientists and researchers. What do you expect? So, but 10 individuals did say no. So this kind of coding would be different from inductive coding, because this was like already, like assumptions were out there. This was deductive kind of, a method mostly. So again, privacy remains number 1. And I mean, I don't know how valuable this would be for Robert, but hopefully he can just learn what his colleagues think about sharing data. That's it. Thank you so much. I really want to thank you, my colleagues at RTI, and of course, people from university, one of the best university collaboration offices, super, super helpful. And Leah and Jay, thank you so much for all the support you provided. I couldn't have done it without both of you. Yeah, so these are the references. Thank you. So I'm ready for questions.
No, I think I heard this before. I think I really feels like this is a very good study, and I'm amazed at the latitude, the scale of the survey. But I do have several questions. Oh, another thing is you manually coded all the responses.
Yeah.
That is amazing too. In 2 weeks, right?
In 2 weeks, actually, because that's all what I did in the beginning. It was a very well planned. Honestly speaking, wasn't too um, demanding. Of like I specifically made sure that I don't take any courses during the summer because I would be doing internship, but I could have easily taken a course or two.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was easy.
So I have a couple questions. First of all, when they conducted a survey, when they first designed the survey question, did they specifically tell people, respondents, that how the data sharing methodology, how their data will be shared before they ask them if they would like to share? Because I think for me, if I know my data will be shared and in a way that my privacy will be protected, then there is no question for me to say no. I will say yes because there is nothing to worry about. I would like to donate my data to benefit the research. So I wonder for the original research design.
So I was given this set of responses. And I just kept asking, there was a secrecy and privacy to the whole thing.
Okay.
So I just kept on asking, I need to know the background. So it was very hard for me even to ask for a little bit of information which he provided. And that's the only information. He actually wrote down these, a paragraph and two for me. And he said, this is it. You just include that in your manuscript. So he did not give me any details. And I obviously honor that. So I'm not sure like how he approached these individuals, but I believe despite it's a nationally representative sample. It's these individuals, we don't know what their education level is, what their background is. We only know their age, in a certain. We don't even know the demographics where they live. So it's very hard to say. It's very hard to say how they would take if you ask them that we want to, even if you give them a certain sense of the project or make them aware of what we are going to do with your data.
Yeah, one of the concerns that people have, like which leads you saying no to data sharing. Like me, I would feel like most time I don't do any like a workout or exercise. I would be ashamed to share my data with someone else so they can see that. The second question is the literature review. You said you did the literature review, right? When you were manually coding the responses. So I wonder what you find out from literature's previous studies, the findings, the attitudes you find out, they are consistent with what you find out from your analysis?
So their privacy issue is there. It stays number one. Surprisingly, the reason why I think Robert asked me to do this was there is no such study which actually includes individuals from all the demographics. There is no concrete study with this data that why people don't share their data. So I could not. There were multiple studies. Some studies just talked about design issues. Some studies just talked about data security. Some studies just talked about the U.S. laws and legislation. So it was really hard. And I got what Robert was trying to do, that there needs to be a study. There needs to be, this probably would be a baseline that we need to, do a proper, survey questions, including individuals from all the backgrounds. I just came across one study which was conducted in China, and it was a pretty comprehensive study with all the demographics, and it was, I'm forgetting the details, but that was just one study, and I have included that in my references, in which they did consider everything. And you can't compare. I don't think it's comparable. Other than privacy, I think different backgrounds would have different sets of issues.
Different concerns.
Yeah.
Even for wearables, I mean, in Asian culture, we just don't feel like it's safe to have wearable devices which might have radiation, emitted radiation. So different culture may have different attitudes to technology.
Yeah.
Did you look into at all on like the issue of like the selling of data? Did anyone mention that in their like fears of why they didn't want to share their data? They were afraid it would be sold.
So I did come across the person who had conducted the study. Remember we met, I think her name was Julia, I'm forgetting her last name. So we met her, she had done the study with Robert. And that was kind of an experimental study in which I think through Amazon, there was a way through Amazon, they engaged the users and they said, okay, we are going to give you a $5 Amazon card if you give us wearable device data.
Yeah.
So they engaged, I think, 30 individuals, all 30 of them
Said yes.
sent their data.
Yeah.
So if you that's what I'm saying, if you incentivize, properly, because data is valuable. I don't know what I was maybe studying somewhere, or maybe I heard this recently that, and you're aware of this, data is new oil.
Yeah.
Nobody's after oil now.
There's definitely some
That's the new currency.
to like current currency or data now, which is interesting.
And the patient-generated data also, if they would like to share, it's very hard actually to control quality. Or a section, some part of the data they would like to share, not the complete. There are many things involved. This is very complicated.
Very complicated, and even one device differs from another device. You can't So I'm just stepping into it. So I'm excited. I don't know what future has in store for us, but I'm certainly excited. Illegal. I was just amazed. From the very beginning, I just kept saying, Robert, that I have a scientific background, and I thought the project itself was not scientific enough for me. So even today, I was just pushing myself. No, I have to sound convincing, because I'm proud of my work, and I did produce results, and I think they are valuable. But I wasn't that little speck of doubt you have. So in the morning, you might be knowing Michael Levy from Blue Doors. So he came in a class, and he was giving his talk, and he said something amazing, and that just struck me so hard. And I think all the confidence you see right now is because of that talk. He said that if you he gave a very good analogy that there was a family who just goes and buys land. So there's 4 acres of land, and then they decide to build a house on that land, and they just call the plumber, call the builder, call everyone else, and they just start to build, and they just build and build without any plan, without knowing what is the reason, what are the just on assumptions. So qualitative analysis is that important. It all comes down to human discovery. There is technological advancements, you can build whatever you want, but if you don't know the usability, if you don't know the sentiments of end users, if you don't explore that discovery or invention is going to be useless. So I was like, okay, the work I did was really valuable. What? It really, yeah. Who's gonna take care of my kids?